This one mental framework is going to make the entire process of living life of excellence and building a business to $50,000 a month completely easier. This video is for beginners and people who already have a business right now and are looking to scale. It is applicable for every single person in the industry. I've taught this method to thousands of people, and people always come back to me to say one thing: Wiz, this is the most life-changing concept you have ever introduced. And here's the crazy part, my friend. You know this already. This isn't something special or new. I'm just going to break it down into compartments and categories for yourself. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start today's video. Reaching your goals in life will become easier when you can catch the cycles of business. Let's go into depth. We got to understand that every single thing in life is cyclical. All the lessons that you're going through today are the same lessons that you have been trying to be taught by the universe and God for throughout all of these years now. You live the same lesson through different experiences over and over until you master whatever the lesson is supposed to be. So if you can operate with a calm and collected, consistent state throughout each cycle in life, you will not only reach your end point quicker, but at the exact same time, you'll be happier along the way. This video is about being content and in love with the journey that you're on towards mastering your craft and making money online. Being aware of the cycles puts you in a spot where nothing can surprise you. The wins are inevitable, the failures are acceptable, but what matters the most is, are you continuously progressing? Right? Before we explain the cycles, I want you to understand the difference between cycles and states. Cycles can last months, weeks, or days. They're periods of our life where a series of events falls under a certain specific theme. These cycles are inevitable in all of our business's journeys. States are exactly how we feel during those cycles. So if forecasted correctly, you can switch states within specific cycles and move past them quicker, because instead of dwelling upon a problem or a challenge that was inevitably going to happen because shit will hit the fan, then it's up to you to be able to dig out of that state and figure out a new solution. So now you're not sitting back and wasting hours, days, months, or even years in a specific state, so you don't move out of that specific cycle. Let's talk about these a little bit more. Right? Here are the states we can be operating in. Number one is a motivated state, right? Mostly driven by FOMO, that fear of missing out. You're operating in terms of energy bursts, right? You feel this euphoric high, like you can conquer the world, but the moment one barrier comes across your path, you crumble. We want to avoid this cycle. Do not operate here, my friends. Number two is a gratitude state, right? That's a state of pure joy and trust. In Arabic, we call this tawakkul, which means divine trust in God's plan. No matter what L's you take, you know you will be solution focused enough to move past them. This is a great state to operate in. Solution focused is being in a state where no matter what barrier, and notice how I'm using the word barrier here. I'm not calling them problems, because barriers are something we can overcome. A problem has a very negative connotation. We want to figure out and accept the fact that these barriers will inevitably come up on our path. If it's always sunshines and rainbows, wouldn't everyone be doing what we're doing right now? It's true, right? If you operate in this state of gratitude, then you know that whenever a new barrier comes up, you welcome it. You welcome the specific hardship because you know what happens at the end of this rainbow. You know what happens at the end of this cycle of just irritating barriers. You know that you become better, you become smarter, and your businesses improve, which means at the end you're making more money. We want to stay in a state of solution-focused mindset so we don't have to worry about when a barrier comes up anymore. Number three is a determined, relentless state. It's fueled by an emotion. You're using a sole raw emotion to help you reach your goal is unhealthy, in my opinion, right? You're going to be reliant on that trait. You feel like there's purpose on the journey, but once the North Star, your vision, your goal is met, the meaning behind it all is gone. And how are you going to get back into this state again, right? If you have control, overall emotional intelligence over that specific emotion, and you know how to click it on and off, which takes practice, which takes conscious iterations, then it's totally fine. But operating in this state is okay. It's something you still do want to avoid, because Because if you're reliant on anger, I had a friend who would say, I whenever I'm angry, I go into a state of work. Yeah, that's cool, but now you're relying on that anger to actually get something done. That's no state to actually live inside of. That's no state to actually operate and work in, because now you're purposely lowering your vibration and your happiness just to get work done. And now you're anchoring your mental state of getting work done to negativity. That's not a state we want to operate in. That's why I like the gratitude one from above, right? It's an okay state. I would avoid it. Number 4 is a desperation state. By far the bloody worst state. This is the weakest state to operate. Desperation breeds disappointments. People won't do business with you. You will hate yourself for every single inevitable L you will take. You might think, yes, but wouldn't desperation make me find a solution? That's false. That's BS, right? You're thinking about a state of fight or flight. That's completely different. Desperation is a flight state. You're attempting to fight, but in reality, you're just finding ways to run away, right? If a barrier comes on your path right now, you're just going to use that as an excuse to be like, oh, see, the world's against me. Oh, no, everything's against me. Oh, this was just never meant for me. You keep saying this, you believe it, you affirm it. Now, these conscious iterations over and over in your head make conviction. I'm studying propaganda right now, for example, and they're saying all of the propaganda that is being shown to the world, that is being projected to the world, is just repetition of a specific message. So if you're repeating these messages to yourself and you know before you even start the process towards your vision that you want to find a reason to give up, that's you living in a desperation state. Don't even bother trying by that point. Get the hell out of here, right? That's a horrible state to live in. All of these states will be pivotal when we're understanding the cycles of business. This just allows us to see what we're operating at in each cycle and what state we should be pivoting towards during a specific cycle. Now, let me explain what this means. There's a few different cycles of business, right? A few different journeys that you can be in that can last a few days, a few months, a few years, but you got to respect that you're going to be in a cycle. I'm in a cycle right now too, and there's 4 cycles that you can be in. Number 1 is the accumulated L's. It's a period in your life where you have seen so many bloody L's. You're seeing more L's than wins. This usually happens for beginners before they actually get some legs under their feet and start running. You guys are just going in states of iteration, of tired, irritation, and just not seeing any good successes. The accumulating L state takes a toll on your mental health. That's the truth. Right here, you begin to question yourself. You're developing imposter syndrome. You're thinking in terms of like, why me? There's signs that you're falling into this state, and they include phrases like I'm stressed. Saying that is you're building conviction around that mentality, and when you're in these states, it's just another reason for you to give up. You cannot say phrases like, oh, why me? Oh, I'm stressed, while you're in this specific cycle. A quick solution here is to understand that the meaning of each of those L's and notice how there'll be a catalyst moment for your next wins, right? You can also switch into a state of gratitude here. So we're now implementing a state of gratitude during the accumulated L's, because we know that after every L, we know that we're one step closer to where we want to be. We know that the strategy that we're implementing, we're just tinkering, we're toying, we're optimizing, we're trying new things until we find that specific winner. So these L's aren't necessarily a bad thing. Let me give you an example. In December of 2021, I did a huge hype campaign for this webinar I was launching. It's how to build your first marketing agency and get to $10,000 a month. I put my blood, sweat, and heart in tears into that. By the way, it's a link in the description below. Go ahead and check it out. It's called 10K Journey. Got the utopia.io. It's amazing. But in that specific time period, when I launched it, I did an hour-and-a-half lesson and I got 1 sale at the end. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I was stressed. I was sad. I was disappointed. Hundreds and hundreds of people showed up. Everyone's giving me positive feedback, but it just didn't convert and I was disappointed. So what I did instead is I figured out why didn't it work. I listened back to it. I had uncompromising self-honesty, and it led to everlasting transformation. So I started tinkering, I started toying, I started playing with it. Months and months later, still nothing working. We saw small wins. It went from a 0.5% conversion rate to 3 to 4. I know something's finally working, but it's still not where I want to be. So we're doing A/B tests. We're trying new things. I'm working with my team members to re-record the webinar. We're working on our messaging for the marketing until today. And now it's converting at 12.9%. Guys, it's June 10th. while I'm recording this right now. It's the 10th of June. It's been 6 bloody months since that day that we launched it, but it was these accumulated L's that helped us go into the state of finding a 12.9% conversion rate landing page. That is a win. These accumulated L's build up. That cycle of accumulated L's, I operated in a state of gratitude, and look where we are right now. We have a winner. This is life. This is business. It's cyclical. Number 2 is the heavy hits, planning something big and it goes south. That's exactly what I just explained. A massive loss is great for every person's character, no matter who you are, man or woman. It's instead of reacting in moments like this, take a step back and zoom out. Go into a state of gratitude and meditate, right? Away from your workstation. Staying in the trenches during this cycle is futile. You can also use this as fuel to get into a state of determination and relentless focus. So now you're leveraging an emotion of irritation and anger because you know that you took a huge L. You got to bounce back. This is when Jordan lost in the finals to the Pistons 2 years in a bloody row. That's embarrassing, right? That pisses you off. But what are you going to do? Go cry about it, or are you going to get up and do something? As hocus pocus, motivational as that sounds, that's the honest truth. Number 3 is a cycle of momentous flow. It's a cycle of hyper focus. You feel unstoppable, but unlike motivation, even if an L occurs, you're able to bounce back rapidly. Your objective should be to reduce the amount of time it takes you to go from a negative state to a positive state. So if an L happens, if it takes you usually 2 weeks to bounce back, reduce that time to 1 week, reduce that time to 3 days, reduce that time to 2 days, 1 day, a few hours, a few minutes, and just bounce back. The shorter that amount of time, the less time you're going to be wasting when it actually comes to bouncing back. When you're in a momentous flow, you're going to be in a state where all you have is this one North Star vision that you are going to do anything and anything possible to reach. This is working hours a day, 75 days in a row, 75 days hard period of a hyper-focused, relentless period of a cycle. For most beginners, this state is short-lived because they fall back into the other cycles of negativity. And this happens because they're not able to accept the L's that are inevitable in their path. They're not managing their expectations. They think they're godlike. They think that they're only never going to take a single L. The more L's you take, the more accustomed you are to the L's, which lets this specific cycle of a momentous flow last longer because you're no longer affected by the L's. This is the cycle you want to be operating in. It's comprised of knowing where you want to go, accepting that failures may occur, and being determined towards a vision. Number 4 is a patience period, by far my least favorite. My mother said this quote to me: "That's the best part. It's cooking in the oven. Let it be, it'll come out perfect." Everything that you could have done has been complete from your side. No matter what the challenge is, you knew you can overcome it. So you stayed in a cycle of momentous flow with a gratitude state, and all that's left now is to wait. During these periods, you have to wait for your team to finish stuff, or for something to happen, or for example, look at our YouTube videos, right? We're doing everything we can be doing, but now it's just a matter of time, and we're waiting for time to catch up. We want this channel to reach 100,000 subscribers, and with your help, when you like this video right now, click like and you go ahead and subscribe. That helps us out, but we know it's time-based. It's not going to happen tonight. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It might happen at the end of this year. It might not, but it's a patience period. We got to do this recurring task over and over. It's an inevitable cycle that we're in. So you stay in this specific cycle of a momentous flow with a gratitude state. All that's left now is to wait for time to catch up. So during these periods, your best next steps are to plan your next phase and accumulate more knowledge. At your peaks, you will be bouncing between momentous flow and patience periods. Momentous flow and patience period. The patience periods gaps wears thin as you start scaling your operations. So do you notice a pattern in these cycles? The majority of them are negative. 80% of your business's success comes down to stress management. If you become aware of which cycle you are in from above, you'll be able to choose which state you want to be operating in. Remember, you're only going to be operating in one of those 4 cycles. You have to choose which specific state you want to operate in for each of those individual cycles. Also, check out the utopia.io. I have dozens of articles like this, as well as hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of strategies that I posted inside, and over 5,000 strategies that you can apply to your marketing agency or your e-com brand. Guys, there's 3,600 people inside the Utopia, all 5-star reviews. It is literally the best resource on the internet to learn how to make your first dollar online, scale to 10K a month, and scale beyond as well. Guys, this ends today's video. If you guys have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. We're all in this together. We're all progressing together. This is collective progression. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Share, like, and subscribe. And yeah, see you guys next week.